Yo, what's going on, guys? And today, I don't know if you guys just heard the thunder. Also, I guess I wore the wrong shirt. It's not the most conducive. But we'll be talking about the New York Knickerbockers. Yes, the Knicks are chasing another deep playoff run with the Eastern Conference Finals fresh in their minds. This is a team that hopes a new coach and kind of a new bench around Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns and the loaded starting five that they have will allow them to have their championship dreams come to fruition. Like, comment, and subscribe. The Knicks are coming off their best season in 25 years, reaching the Eastern Conference Finals before falling to Indiana, who ended up falling to the Oklahoma City Thunder. They shocked many by firing Tom Thibodeau, and I personally think out of all the coaches that were in consideration, Mike Brown was the coach who had the best playoff pedigree and the most championship experience. Yes, he had never done it himself as a coach, but he had made it to the championship game as a coach with LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, and he had won multiple championships, not only as the defensive and offensive coordinator because he had switched at one point for the Steve Kerr-led Golden State Warriors, but during those Spurs teams in the 2000s, he was on that bench, was a huge part of that. A lot of people forget how good of a coach Mike Brown is, not only as a defensive coach, which is what he's really known as, but he's also just as good of an offensive coach. And out of all the coaches available, he was the only one that I think that was going to be able to help be creative, to obviously have the offense be good whenever Brunson and Towns sit, but also to have ways to improve the defense and just give you a different look while being someone that I think could manage the egos here. Now, they doubled down on depth by adding Guerschon, Yabusele, and Jordan Clarkson, and a bunch of other guys that we'll talk about, which now allows Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns more help for a postseason push that they hope is going to be deeper than the last one. Now, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. What are your expectations for the Knicks? And let me hear your predictions. So, Ariel Hukporti was basically had his team option picked up at $1.96 million, so barely under $2 million. Guerschon Yabusele signed a 2-year, $11.2. Jordan Clarkson on a minimum. Mohamed Diawara is going to be a guy who's going to be on a two-way, it looks like. And they have Ding Pei, who's going to be just on their G League team. I think bringing in Mike Brown was huge for this squad. They needed it. And as we saw this offseason, obviously Tibbs was gone. And they made some moves in the terms of, obviously, PJ Tucker was somebody that we knew was going to be on his way out. They kind of just brought him in as a depth piece, and he wasn't a contributing factor for them. While extending Mikal Bridges to that 4-year, $150 million deal was really big for them. Not only if it's keeping the core together, but gives them an asset if they had to move or break it up down the road or retool. Now, they went 51-31. They lost 4-2 in the Eastern Conference Finals to the Pacers. The Knicks were a workhorse team. I think that's the easiest way to describe it. This was a team that led the NBA in total minutes played by their starters. Brunson played at an all-NBA level, fringe MVP level. You had Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Josh Hart really thrived and were the defensive point of attack defenders that they had. And obviously, Karl-Anthony Towns took his game to another level, becoming this inside-out scorer that we always hoped he could be. And despite being one series short of a finals appearance, this was a breakthrough for the franchise. This was their first Eastern Conference Finals appearance since the year 2000, 25 years. And the decision to fire Tom Thibodeau, despite the playoff success, shocked people around the league. And enter Mike Brown, a guy we talked about earlier in the video, a 2-time Coach of the Year, expected to modernize the offense while maintaining the defensive discipline that they have. Might look a little bit different, but bringing Yabusele brings size and a versatility that they have as he can play the 3, the 4, and be a small ball 5. They have some bench scoring now with the guys that they brought in, and especially Jordan Clarkson. And the Mikal Bridges extension locks in a wing with OG Anunoby that just gives them a lot more length. And I think the front office, Leon Rose and Guerschon Rosas, is betting on this group being able to win bigger and not just have to grind out minutes and be able to have a second unit. There's a lot more shooting on this team. And obviously the starting lineup's not going to change. I think Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges. Now, Are they going to go Josh Hart and Karl-Anthony Towns, which I think they should, or Karl-Anthony Towns and Mitchell Robinson? I think it's going to be the Jalen Brunson, OG Anunoby, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, and Karl-Anthony Towns. Then that allows you to have off the bench, obviously, Jordan Clarkson, we've mentioned multiple times. They brought in Mikal Brogdon, who they've seemed fond of. They brought back because I think Mikal Brogdon and Deuce McBride are going to be their secondary guards, while Jordan Clarkson's going to be their six-man scorer. Guerschon and Yabusele is their bench combo forward who can be a small ball five. They have their backup center defensive guy and a rim protector in Mitchell Robinson. Obviously, Landry Shamet is going to be one of their bench shooters. They have Tyler Kolek and Pacome Dade. And I don't know personally if both will be able or going to be on the opening day roster, as I'll admit, they do have to do some salary cap gymnastics. So currently with the amount of players on their roster, I just want to get this pulling up. Go to hoopshype.com and go to our depth charts if you guys want to see the depth charts. We finally updated the orders on them, so they're not in like wacky ass orders. Now, Jalen Brunson, OG, Mikal, Josh Hart, Karl-Anthony Towns starting lineup. Secondary guards, Malcolm Brogdon, Deuce McBride, Tyler Kolek. Right there, they also have Garrison Matthews, Matt Ryan, and they have on two ways, Trey Jameson and Tosan, Kevin McCullough. From my understanding is Trey Jameson, by the way, I said that wrong. Mo Duara is probably duking it out for one of those two-way spots. And I would say Tosan is probably the one. They also have Alex Lynn that they brought in, as I mentioned earlier, Matt Ryan. So all the players that they have, besides after the starting five that we know, Brogdon, McBride, Clarkson, Yabusele, Mitchell Robinson puts you at 10. Tyler Kolek, Garrison Matthews, Landry Shamet, Pacome, and Ariel Huckporty puts you at 15. Now the three two-ways, McCullough, Tosan, and Trey, those excluded. You still have Matt Ryan, Mo Duara, and Alex Lynn. Take out Duara because he'll be on a two-way if he is on the roster or if he gets stashed. So he's not counted. So you have to, two guys are going to have to get moved, Alex Lynn and Matt Ryan. I think Alex Lynn is here as a camp body, or for them to maybe move if Ariel's knees really bad, or if they can just cut Mitchell or trade Mitchell Robinson and dump his salary and save money if they want to do that. But I would say that's too risky for where they're at. So Alex Lynn might be the guy who gets cut. He just might, I don't know if he's just he might not be athletic enough or able to move up and down the court. Now, I think they're going to want to keep Matt Ryan and Garrison Matthews. Garrison Matthews and Matt Ryan are like two shooters, and I think they just really need that. So I think Garrison Matthews, Matt Ryan, and they're saying Landry Shamet and Malcolm Brogdon are locks to make the team. So Pacome and Tyler Kolek, Garrison Matthews, Landry Shamet, and Matt Ryan are like the five dudes to watch. Because assuming Alex Lynn's the guy getting cut, Matt Ryan, Garrison Matthews, Kolek, Pacome, one of them is going to have to get moved unless there's somebody else like a Mitchell Robinson that potentially could get moved, as he's been someone that he's been rumored to get moved, could be the saving grace for one of them to remain on the roster. So, and the reason why I think they would want to keep Shamet, Ryan, and obviously we had mentioned Garrison Matthews is because the shooting. This team needs as much shooting and just guys who don't need the ball in their hands. Because they have a top 10 offense with Brunson and Towns, and the scoring with Clarkson being the big guy there. But Shamet combined with Brogdon and even Matt Ryan and Garrison Matthews, it just gives you a lot more shooting, not just bench scoring guys. And obviously the continuity with all the core starters returning is big. But this team's biggest weakness last year was the heavy reliance on the starter minutes and not enough shooting and scoring off the bench, especially with durability concerns to, some of the starters, especially with Towns, Robinson, and Brunson having, their moments where, like, are they going to be okay? And then obviously the limited offensive creation outside of Brunson and Towns, having Clarkson's going to be good. So I think the other thing is, could there be some turbulence from the coaching change? I think people are going to welcome it. Like Mike Brown replacing Tom Thibodeau, shifting like their philosophy. It's not the biggest thing. Like Brown's defensive schemes are good, in the front office obviously believes that his relationships with the player, I know it went wrong in Sacramento, but he was given a terrible team that wouldn't play defense, and their problem was defense. So I think he just wore on the players, and I think the Sacramento situation is a weird one. I think that's more the fault of Vivek Ranadivev, the owner, than of Mike Brown. And I think this offense and this team's depth gives it a different diversity. And Tibbs' grind worked, but I think the locker room needed a fresh voice. And Mike Brown is coming in, a guy who can maintain that defensive grip while I think lightening the Brunson burden by being more creative offensively than Mr. Tibbs was. Now this team is well above the $207.8 million second apron, over $220 million. That's why if they were able to get off of Mitchell Robinson's contract, I do think that's something that they'd be interested in doing. They have trade exception of like a little over $2 million of Jericho Sims and $685,000 in the taxpayer mid-level exception that they'll probably use in a trade if they need to do. Towns is making like $53 million. Anunoby making 39.6. Brunson making just under $35 million in Bridges. New extension. He's currently on 25. The depth was filled with a bunch of minimum deals and young contracts. So they are a team that is constantly doing salary cap gymnastics to be able to make moves. And Mo Diawara is a kind of a forward. He's a forward in my eyes, similar to, I think, in the kind of something in between Dupe Reith and a Chris Boucher. Could he maybe play a little bit of 3? Maybe. I think he's a guy who's going to probably play more 4-5 in the NBA, small ball 5, a 4. So I think that's the biggest thing. And he's the only young guy that you should really pay attention, because Ding Pate and all the other ones that were brought in this offseason are just going to be on the G League team. And Tyler Kolek and Pacome are the only ones that are probably going to be on the roster getting minutes if they make it. Now, Mikal Bridges, I love OG Anunoby, but Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby are the two guys that they really hope one of them could maybe like reach an all-NBA level. I've always thought that was going to be OG Anunoby. I think he's there, but maybe it's Mikal Bridges who expands his offensive role. They really want that. And Deuce McBride's somebody that they hope can, with Jordan Clarkson, have that shot creation role off the bench, while also Guerschon Yabusele has the opportunity to be a key bench piece that plays almost starter level minutes. With his defense, rebounding, and multi-positional versatility and bringing energy is going to be huge. So then Karl-Anthony Towns, in his first full season with the Knicks, he delivered on being a 3-level scorer and a guy who could be a pick and pop, and it's kind of a rim protection insurance alongside Robinson. And with a fully healthy offseason and a year of integration, I think he's positioned to elevate his ceiling and New York ceiling. Like, dude, the guy was a fringe MVP candidate. He was an all-NBA player, and he's embraced this more physical role with Tibbs. And if he continues to embrace it under Mike Brown, I think he can go to the next level. And if that's possible, let's talk about how far the Knicks can go. The Knicks are, on paper, one of the top 2 teams in the East, one of the top 4 teams in the NBA. Brunson, Bridges, Anunoby, Towns, all locked in. The window is now, okay? The question is, can they manage the health and overworking their starters and have enough depth to make it through the playoffs? A finals appearance is possible, but so is another 50-win season, ending short of the big stage. So what we're thinking is, can Brunson and Towns stay fresh and healthy and avoid another heavy workload? Will Mike Brown be able to open up the offense for Bridges, Anunoby, Jordan Clarkson, the guys off the bench, and Deuce McBride? And does Clarkson, Guerschon Yabusele, and Deuce McBride and the rest of the guys provide enough scoring spark that they lacked last spring? So I think the biggest thing we're watching is that if this season is what I think it is, it's finals or bust. Will the front office gamble on the coaching change and the depth that they brought in pay off? This is a team that I think they're not going to push for 60 wins. I think they're fine winning at least 50 games and having a decent seed. They want to make it to the NBA Finals, and I think that's possible. Worst case scenario, they're like a 40-something win team, second round exit if the depth falters or an injury happens. But I think they're going to be a 50-plus win team, top 4 seed, potentially a finals dark horse or favorite at some point, depending on how it goes. So if you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe. Let me hear your thoughts in the comments. Can the Knicks finally break through and make the playoffs? Do you guys agree with me or nah? Let me know. That's it. Goodbye.